Welcome to 4D episode 34, Def's Daily Dose of Dota. I'm your host, Michael Defis Plumley, and today we're doing an edition on EG.SumaiL's Storm Spirit. We're going to be focusing on a lot of things in this. We're going to be focusing on the draft, how a Storm Spirit got picked. We're going to be focusing on staying positive. Spoiler alert, Sumail gets murdered, as to be expected when you're facing some great supports like Vici Gaming's FY and Fenrir. I want to throw up the draft on screen and get this going. This, as you can see from the top left, is the Dota 2 Asia Championship 2015. We're going to get this rolling. And luckily I muted the sound. Yep, so you're not going to hear an annoying announcer. Because what I wanted to talk about were the stuns. How to get the Storm Spirit. He's Sumail's probably signature character. If you go to his Dota buff, he's played it more than anyone else. But the stuns are already on the board, being banned out by evil geniuses. This Vengeful Spirit sniper combo, they fell to earlier in the tournament. Vici Gaming were doing some great stuff with it. And we also see an Earthshaker picked up. Taking another stun off the board, because Storm Spirit, really the only thing he has to fear are stuns. That lockdown, like a hero from Vengeful Spirit. Otherwise, he'll be zipping around the map, dealing the magic damage, getting out with 5% health because he had a little bit of mana and he was able to ball lightning away. So I think you'll see a recurring theme in this draft from evil geniuses. You don't see the Storm Spirit come out early. PPD still thinking about it. By the way, the Clockwork does have a stun with his ultimate, but the cogs not quite as powerful. You can ball lightning out of those. And what a coincidence, another stun is banned out in this draft. VGFY's Sand King, a fantastic hero for him. One of his signature heroes. I did a daily on him. You can just Google that. Enigma is not going to be your mid hero. I'm going to throw him into the jungle. And the Lion is the other ban. Another FY hero, by the way. And another hero with not one stun, but actually a stun and another form of CC. So, Vici Gaming, I'm not sure they saw the Storm Spirit coming. Instead, they chose to ban the Tinker. The Templar Assassin 2, two Sumail heroes. We're going to see evil geniuses pick it up here, I believe. So we're just going to make this zip along. And Witch Doctor, by the way, does have one stun, but it's a bouncing cask. It's not really a skill shot. You have to get some lucky bounces. And an ultimate like Death Ward, easy to ball lightning away from that. Terrorblade also, no stuns, though he's going to be playing the one position in this game. Also interesting, you have an agility carry here, as I pointed out in some of my dailies involving Terrorblade. He has really high agility gain, so great physical mitigation, but not so much magic. Low HP pool means he could be susceptible to some ganks from the Storm Spirit, who's able to dish out significant magic damage. And speaking of dishing out significant magic damage, evil geniuses close out their draft with a Zeus. I really like their draft here. Good combination of heroes. They don't have a lot of HP pool, not a lot of strength heroes, Earthshaker being the only one, but you have some very slippery ones like the Storm Spirit. Zeus is going to want to sit in the back. And Juggernaut does have a healing ward as well as some magic immunity. So he'll be able to sit on the front lines and do some of the tanking. This last pick is supposed to be for FY. It's going to have to be some kind of stun. It's going to have to be something to try and lock down this Storm Spirit. You'll see him roaming with the Witch Doctor, as a lot of these Chinese teams do, those great smoke ganks at the 4-minute mark. And we see it, Shadow Shaman. I actually really like this pick. He's one of the rare heroes, along with that Lion that was banned out, that has two forms of CC to try and control EG.SumaiL. However, he's still an intelligence support. He's going to be very low HP. He's going to be squishy, for lack of a better word. And he's a little slow as well. So later in the game, Storm Spirit could just go ham on some of these supports like Witch Doctor and Shadow Shaman. But early, some key support rotations could spell doom for the Storm Spirit if he's not careful. We're going to hop into the game. The heroes are being picked out. FY on the Shadow Shaman. He's going to be interesting to watch. And before we get started, we're going to blow up the minimap, just so I can watch this VOD from my phone and actually tell what's going on. And let's get some in-game sound as well. Fantastic. Sumail, starting out with a Null Talisman, 2 Iron Branches, and a bunch of pooled Tangos. Looks like those are coming in from his supports. 1 ward from Universe. He would have loved to get it down here to figure out these support rotations. As I mentioned, are going to be very key. FY already starting out with a Smoke of Deceit, and might I add, a Boots of Speed. That's going to put him up above the 300 mark, which is average for your heroes, and definitely faster than your Storm Spirit. Fenrir, the other support, not starting out with a Boots of Speed. He's a little higher base movement speed. PPD is going to be the support along with a Jungle Enigma as the really loud horn comes out. We're going to be looking for PPD to try and keep our Storm Spirits safe as Sumail starts this game in the mid lane. We see him creep blocking right away. Wants to get an advantageous position on the creep equilibrium, letting the range creep through so it can die. He's going to be facing up in the mid lane against VG Super on the Shadow Fiend. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the game, this is a bit of a comeback story. So we're going to do something here. We're going to switch to just Sumail's vision. I talked a bit ago about how Universe was not able to place this ward down. Sure, there's a ward up here, but that's not going to help you spot out the supports for VG. You will notice he did buy a TP scroll before he died, so not that big of a deal. He's able to come back mid. PPD was unfortunately rotating. You saw him right here running around. Very unfortunate. But Sumail just goes back to lane, picking up that static remnant first. It's AoE damage, and it's going to be proccing overload once he levels that up. Last hits denies are not going to go great for him, but he is going to be staying pretty competitive. Already using up several of his tangos. And I still have the vision on Sumail's vision. If we wanted, we could even go to the player perspective. He sees no one on the minimap. The Shadow Shaman is still missing. Oh, wait a minute. He's directly behind him. FY with the boots is able to get a good flank. And he's even able to catch up to him. Get off that shackle. 2.75 second CC. A great level 1 ability. And that's 2 deaths in 2 minutes for Sumail. But once again, by the way, he did purchase a TP scroll and a magic stick. We're going to take a brief pause to just do a little PSA here. Guys, be sure to bind something to your purchase quick buy. I have mine as F5. It's going to be really useful to spam it. If you are about to die, you will perhaps buy that item or two that you would have just lost the gold anyway, had you died. Start practicing it today. You can even pause this video and start working on it. That's really just muscle memory there. Much like a lot of things in Dota. Practice, practice, practice. We see a healing salve also coming out for Storm Spirit. And at the 220 mark, oh no, FY, he's coming in for another flank. And a 3rd death. Though he did buy another TP scroll. Great quick buy. That ward is only getting down in this position, so you can't see who's down here pulling the lane. And more importantly, you have no vision of this middle area. Would have loved to see a ward here on the high ground, but it's not how this game started out. Sumail is even going to have to walk back to base. Or walk back to the lane from base. As we see him waddle his way back. And he goes back to last hitting. He's starting to get a little behind. Level 5 on the Shadow Fiend. Sumail's just level 3. Would love to buy his bottle, but he hasn't had 700 gold for a long time.
Dire's bottom tower is
Using the
under
healing
attack.
salve, picking back up the shared tango. Super does have his bottle, so things will get even more complicated. He sees Fenrir rotating in the bottom lane, so we see him start to back up. Static Remnant, by the way, lasts for 12 seconds and gives vision, in addition to the AoE. So that can work as a good zoning tool, a good mini ward, if you want to call it that. And quick pause, by the way, take a check at the minimap. No supports for Vici are cited. Sumail will slink back into his own jungle, put this ward here, this static remnant. Say, hey, I've already died 3 times. I would hate to die again.
Dire's middle
And that does get
tower is
triggered by
under
Fenrir. We're going to switch to his player perspective. And watch him. Do you see him by the bottle? He's very close. He needs this kill. Did you see it get purchased? In case you didn't notice, that's okay. Because if you look at the time here, Witch Doctor dies at 0.96. Storm Spirit dies at 0.12. Basically, a tenth of a second time frame in between him living with the kill and dying. That, my friends, is nothing more than the quick buy button. He was fast on his fingers, and because of that, he's rewarded with a bottle. A big deal for Storm Spirit. He needs that extra mana regeneration, that extra HP. And at the 5-minute mark, Sumail is porting back to a tower that's already going to be under siege from Super. He's also dishing out about 290 damage with these shadow raises. So Sumail has to be very careful. He's still not level 6. He's starting to max out that overload. That's going to give him damage every time he uses the static remnant, every time he uses the ball lightning. And we see a gank happening in the EG woods. Sumail's probably just happy that these 2 supports aren't here, killing him. 1 in 4 would be even worse than 1 in 5. But he's very close to level 6. You see, all he needs is just 1 or 2 more creeps.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
A 6-minute bounty run would be very nice. He picks it up. He is now level 6.
Dire's middle tower
And he will now
is
have
under
that ball
attack.
lightning. That'll help his mobility, help him stay alive in these potential ganks. He doesn't have his boots yet, so he doesn't have a lot of escape options. Did I say no boots? What I meant to say was he has his boots now. He's done a great job with these last hits. I'm very surprised he has 24 at the 6-minute mark. Sure, Super's up at 38, but he's had a very rough start. So much so he's even staying under the tower.
Dire's structures
The fortification
are
is
fortified.
coming out, but with this DD rune, he might lose his tower. PPD as support is coming in to help. We're going to switch to the
Radiant's
player
top tower
perspective
is under attack.
to see how Sumail plays this out. He tries to go for the ball lightning.
Dire's middle
Ice, ice, ice,
tower
hook shots
has
away.
fallen.
But he's still getting in overload damage, you see. Helping to kill both Ice, 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 and FY looks to be the next target. I told you this Storm Spirit was squishy. And it looks like he's about to die. But that's okay. We saw him just pick up his soul ring. So sure, he's gonna die to this maledict. It's bound to happen. But with his dying breath, he looks down and says, hey, fantastic 2-man black hole, thanks Owie. And PPD's coming in to probably give a fissure here. And that's a 4 for 2. Zeus did have to buy back there to help out with the Thunder God's Wrath, but as we mentioned earlier, that quick buy is doing work for Storm Spirit. He dies, but not much is really lost here. His unreliable gold is staying
Radiant's
very
top
low,
tower is under attack.
and he's, in a word, he's cashing out before he dies. Consolidating his gains, so even when he does die, it's no big deal. And a soul ring Not too shabby at the 7-minute mark. You see it on the board. He's going to be building towards that Bloodstone. Storm Spirit needs all the mana regen help he can get. Even porting to the bottom lane, he says, hey, this Shadow Shaman is squishy. He only has about 2.5 HP bars of health. I sure could use some more money. With the help of Zeus for the damage, Sumail is quickly able to secure a kill.
The messenger.
And what started out as a 1-4 game has turned into a 4-5 game for Storm Spirit. And although he's not very high on the last hits, he at least is second on the net worth. He's going to go over to the side shop, pick up a Robe of the Magi, which, by the way, does build in to those boots. The power treads. I see a lot of people get the +6 strength, but hey, you can get any of those +6 items. Why not do that on those other heroes? Not everybody really needs the HP. Storm Spirit certainly could use the mana. And at the 8:14-minute mark, we're going to take a break. It's getting to be what I would consider the end of the early game, the end of the laning phase for this Storm Spirit. He has his Ball Lightning on deck. There are very squishy supports coming out for VG. The 2 intellect heroes, the Witch Doctor, the Shadow Shaman. They can quickly become food with the assistance of maybe Zeus, Universe. He's using that Thunder God's Wrath to add in some extra damage. When we come back, we're going to look at the mid game. We're going to look at more rotations. We're going to look at him get that Bloodstone. And hopefully, Sumail will make a comeback, and we'll look at more deaths to that Shadow Shaman. We'll be back after this.